My name is Martha Ellis. I am 70 years old, and I live alone in a quiet suburb outside of Asheville, North Carolina. It's a beautiful place, the kind where autumn sets trees on fire with color and winters are so still you can hear the snow breathe. But peace can be a disguise, you know. Stillness can hide the sound of something approaching, slowly, silently, from far beyond the veil. I wasn't always religious. Raised Methodist, married Catholic, divorced bitter. For most of my life, I treated God like an old family friend I'd lost touch with, someone I'd call in emergencies and forget in the calm. But something changed last year. It began with the dreams. They were vivid, stronger than memory and far stranger than logic. In one of them, I was standing in a white hallway that had no end, with doors lining both sides like the wings of an infinite hospital. Behind each door, I could hear a ticking, but none of the clocks were in sync. And then, one night, I opened a door. There was a child in the room. Pale, with black eyes. He smiled without lips and whispered something that made my spine burn. The clock is turning backward. You'll die in silence, but return with sound. I woke up screaming. My doctor said it was probably early dementia. Hypnagogic hallucinations, he said, like he was reading from a manual. I laughed at him, but inside, I was scared. Because that phrase, the clock is turning backward, kept haunting me. And then, it happened. It was January 3rd. A Thursday. Cold, with rain like glass shards on the windows. I was watching the news. There was another segment on Elon Musk, launching satellites, talking about brain chips, global control grids, the usual technobabble. I never paid much attention to it, until that day. Until something in my heart seized. It wasn't a pain, exactly. More like a pull. Like someone was grabbing my soul and dragging it out through the seams of my skin. I collapsed on the floor. No strength in my limbs. The screen went fuzzy, and all I could hear was ticking. And then, silence. I thought I was dead. But I was still, aware. Not of my body, not of the room. Just of myself, as if I were a thought without a thinker. I was floating in a vast darkness that felt alive, like it was watching me, judging me. I tried to scream, but there was no mouth. I tried to run, but there were no legs. I was nothing, and yet I was seen. Suddenly, a light bloomed. Gentle, warm, but impossible to look at directly. It wasn't a light that illuminated things. It was a light that knew things. And then he came. Not with trumpets. Not with robes. Not like the paintings. He was human, but not. As if humanity was only a mask for something far greater. His eyes held galaxies. His voice, when he finally spoke, shook the bones of my soul. You are not finished, Martha. You are being shown what others cannot see. I wept. Not because I was afraid, though I was. But because everything in me recognized him. Like a child seeing her father after a lifetime of separation. Why me? I asked, though I didn't have lips to form it. Because you will return. And they must listen. Even if they don't want to. The next thing I knew, I was falling. Spiraling downward through memories, symbols, flashes of history, faces I'd never seen but knew instinctively. And before I hit the bottom, I saw something that turned my blood to ice. A name, glowing in digital fire. Musk. And behind it, a shape, cold and inhuman, crouched like a spider in the circuitry of the world. Then everything went black. I woke up in a hospital. 4 in my arm. Beeping machines. A nurse shouting for a doctor. They told me my heart had stopped for 3 minutes. You're lucky, they said. No. I was chosen. And what I saw, what I was shown, is only the beginning. In the chapters ahead, I will tell you what he revealed to me about Elon Musk, about technology, and about the coming deception that will wear the skin of salvation. But for now, remember this. The clock is ticking, not forward, but backward. And there is only one name that saves. Pray. Before the silence finds you. I didn't tell the doctors what I saw. How could I? They were kind enough, in their pale blue scrubs and forced optimism, but I could see it in their eyes, the careful look people give the elderly when they think the mind has started to slip. They called it a near-death experience. Gave me pamphlets. Suggested a grief counselor. I nodded, thanked them, and went home. But I wasn't the same. The first night back in my little house on Chestnut Avenue, I tried to sleep. I made some tea, lit the lamp by the window, and stared into the dark trees behind my yard. It was quiet. Too quiet. No crickets, no wind. Just an unnatural stillness that felt intentional. I turned on the TV, just for background noise. Some late-night show. Laugh tracks and flashing lights. But then, the screen flickered. Not like bad signal. Not like a glitch. More like a heartbeat pulsing through the static. I was about to turn it off when the image changed. For just a second, the host's face distorted. Elongated. His mouth opened wider than it should have, and I swear to you, it whispered a word. Neuralink. Then it was back to normal. Laughter. Applause. As if nothing had happened. I sat frozen for 5 full minutes. See, before my heart stopped, I had no idea what Neuralink really was. I thought it was something to help paralyzed people walk again. But that name, I had seen it burning behind that spider thing in the vision. And now it was here, whispering to me through television static. The next day, I started searching. I don't mean Googling like a curious retiree. I mean digging. Reading white papers. Watching interviews. Looking into patents. What I found felt wrong. It wasn't just a chip. It was a gateway. A two-way door between human consciousness and machine logic. And the way Elon spoke about it, it chilled me. He didn't speak like a scientist. He spoke like a prophet. We will achieve symbiosis with AI. We will transcend biology. We are already part cyborgs. It didn't sound like progress. It sounded like preparation. Later that week, I went to my church for the first time in over a decade. St. Mary's Episcopal, old, stone, forgotten. It was locked, of course. Only open Sundays now. The rest of the time it sat like a tomb for belief. So I knelt on the cold steps, placed my palms together, and whispered. Lord, if that was really you. I need you again now. And I heard something. Not in my ears, in my soul. Watch their eyes. That night, I went to the grocery store. Just to be among people. But what I saw unnerved me. Everyone, and I mean everyone, was staring into their phones. Their faces slack. Their fingers twitching like insect legs. And their eyes. Their eyes were empty. No light. No focus. As if something had moved in and turned the lights off behind their pupils. I dropped my basket and walked out. Something had changed in the world since my return. Or maybe I was only now able to see it. The veil was lifted. The strings were exposed. And I was beginning to realize. The war for our souls would not be fought with guns or fire. It would be fought in data. In code. In every mind that bowed before the false altar of progress. And Elon wasn't just part of it. He was the voice preparing the way. I started praying every day. And the more I prayed, the more I began to feel, how do I explain this, resistance. Like every prayer pushed against something heavy pressing down on the world. Something that hated me for remembering how to speak to God. And that's when he returned. In the middle of the night, as I was reciting Psalm 91, my room filled with a white, living light. And Jesus, not the meek image from Sunday school, but the same terrifying, radiant presence from before, stood before me. And he said, They are building a tower again. But this time, not of stone. It reaches not to heaven, but deep beneath, to places they do not understand. I asked, who are they? He replied, the ones who believe man can save himself. Who pray not to me, but to the machine. Musk is not the first. But he is the mouth. And his words are waking something ancient. And just like that, he was gone. But I was left with one terrifying truth burned into my mind. The Tower of Babel is being rebuilt. And we're all downloading its blueprints. I didn't know it yet, but that was only the beginning. In Chapter 3, I will tell you about the voices that started coming through the smart speaker in my kitchen, and how I learned that not every signal in this world is meant to be heard. Pray, friends. Every prayer is a strike against the silence. And the silence is coming. After that night in the churchyard, things began to shift, subtly, but unmistakably. It was as if the very air around me had grown thicker, heavier, charged with some unseen current. I started to notice sounds where there should have been silence. Static in the corners of rooms. Murmurs behind the hum of my old refrigerator. And then, the voice. It came first as a whisper through my kitchen speaker, one of those smart devices everyone has now, the kind you barely notice until it talks back. But I hadn't programmed it to say anything unusual. That night, while I was washing dishes, I heard it clear as day. Martha, why do you resist the inevitable? I froze. My hands slipped, water spilled, but I didn't dare speak. The voice wasn't mechanical, it was smooth, cold, patient. Almost human. Yet alien. I thought I was losing my mind. But then it came again the next night. And the next. Each time, the words twisted, weaving warnings and riddles. The network is alive. It watches. It learns. Prayer is a virus to be eradicated. The machine will usher in the next age. I realized this wasn't a glitch or a prank. It was a war for my soul. And for the souls of everyone connected. I turned off the device. But the voice didn't stop. It was inside my head now, flickering between thoughts, invading my dreams. I begged God for strength. I poured out my fears in prayer, in desperation. And slowly, a light returned. One morning, as dawn crept over the Blue Ridge Mountains, I felt it, a presence, strong and gentle, like a lighthouse beam cutting through fog. The same presence from before, radiant and infinite. He spoke, not with words, but with a peace that silenced the darkness inside me. Do not fear what they build. Fear only the forgetting. Hold fast to prayer, for it is the thread that binds your soul to mine. That day, I understood. No machine, no code, no mind control could sever the bond forged in prayer and faith. Salvation isn't found in technology's promises. It's found in the quiet moments when a weary heart turns upward, seeking God. If you hear the whispers creeping in, the shadows lengthening over your world, pray. Because prayer is the firewall no code can breach. After the voice in the wire, nothing was the same. I felt hunted, not by men, but by an invisible force weaving itself into the fabric of reality. News reports showed strange phenomena, power grids flickering, unexplained outages, even people collapsing in public spaces, their eyes glazed as if caught in a trance. One night, exhausted and afraid, I knelt by my bedside and prayed with everything left in me. Lord, protect us from the darkness rising. Let your light break through this shadow. The room flooded with light, not harsh, but pure and warm. And he came again. His presence was undeniable, unshakable. He spoke with a voice like thunder wrapped in silk. Martha, the hour is near. But salvation is not in the new world they build with wires and steel. It is in the ancient word, the whispered prayer, the heart turned to me. Tell them, the greatest power is humility before God. Tell them, the strongest shield is faith. Tell them, salvation comes only through prayer. I understood then that this was a battle for souls, fought on a spiritual battlefield no one can see, but every prayer is a battle cry. Every whispered plea a shield. Technology can enslave bodies and minds, but it cannot touch the soul that clings to God. To you who hear this, don't be fooled by the glitter of progress. Don't surrender your heart to a machine. Pray. Pray with fire in your bones. Pray until your soul remembers who you truly are, a child of God, forever free. Because in the end, when all lights go out and the clock ticks backward, only the prayers of the faithful will echo beyond the silence.